Have you ever wondered why your biggest battles aren't with the world outside, but with the voice inside your own head? What if the real enemy to your growth isn't weakness, but the way your mind is wired? I'm Muniba Mazari, and I believe every soul carries untapped strength waiting to be awakened. Stay connected, because the journey to your highest self begins the moment you choose not to give up on yourself. What if the real reason you struggle to stay consistent isn't because you're weak, but because your own mind is designed to resist change? Every time you promise yourself you'll start something new and stick with it, the first few days feel full of energy. But soon, the spark fades, the resistance grows, and suddenly the same goal that once inspired you feels like a burden. This cycle doesn't mean you're broken. It means your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do: protect you from discomfort, save energy, and keep you inside the safety of old habits. The truth is, the mind loves comfort, even when that comfort is quietly destroying your dreams. That's why new habits feel like a fight, like pushing against a heavy wall that doesn't want to move. And when you feel that weight, you often confuse it with weakness, as if you're not disciplined enough or not worthy enough to create change. But that's a lie. The resistance you feel is not a barrier, it's a signal. It's the clear sign that you are stepping into new territory, stretching beyond what feels normal, and breaking the patterns that have held you back. This is where most people give up. They feel the discomfort, they mistake it for failure, and they retreat to old habits. But what if you could learn to see that discomfort differently? What if every ounce of resistance was proof that you were on the right path, proof that growth is happening even when you can't see it yet? That shift in perspective changes everything. Suddenly, the struggle stops being a reason to quit and starts being the evidence that you are rewriting your future. Psychologists call this clash between your current self and your future self cognitive dissonance. It feels like a war inside you. One part wants to rise, while the other part fights to stay the same. And yet, the moment you choose to act in spite of that tension, you cast a vote for your future self. Every small choice to show up, even when you don't feel like it, rewires your identity. This is where consistency is born, not in grand declarations, but in silent moments of persistence. The reward for pushing through is not just progress, it's transformation. Each action becomes proof that you are no longer the person who quits when it gets hard. You are building the identity of someone who follows through, someone who acts not because they feel motivated, but because it's who they are. That's the secret most people miss. Consistency is not about forcing yourself to do what you hate. It's about becoming the kind of person for whom showing up is no longer a question. And here's why you need to hear this until the very end. Once you understand that the battle is not against your weakness, but against your wiring, you stop doubting yourself. You stop waiting for motivation. You start building a life where consistency is no longer a dream, it becomes your nature. If consistency is not about weakness but wiring, then the path forward is about design. The human mind is a creature of pattern, and it clings to what feels familiar. That means if you leave your days to chance, your brain will always pull you back into old rhythms. But when you begin to shape your environment, your habits, and your routines with intention, you strip away the excuses. You make consistency less about willpower and more about structure. One of the simplest yet most powerful strategies is linking new actions to old ones. When you connect a new behavior with something you already do daily, your brain stops fighting. It recognizes the rhythm, accepts the flow, and suddenly the action doesn't feel like a mountain anymore. It becomes natural, automatic, even expected. And that is the key, because the brain thrives on familiarity. The more familiar you make your new habits, the less resistance they create. But structure alone is not enough. The mind must also feel accountable. When you declare your goals openly, even to one trusted person, the drive to follow through multiplies. This happens because deep within us lies the need to remain consistent with what we've said, with the image we project to others. You can use that natural force to your advantage. Each time you commit out loud, you raise the stakes. You create a standard for yourself, and your desire to stay true to your word pulls you forward even on the hardest days. Still, the strongest foundation lies in your environment. If you want to change your actions, change the world around you. Remove the things that tempt you back into old habits. Replace them with triggers that guide you toward your goals. The truth is that willpower is limited. No matter how strong you think you are, it weakens under pressure. But when your environment is designed to support your best self, the path of least resistance becomes the path of growth. And yet, even with structure, accountability, and environment, there will be days when the mind whispers that you don't have it in you. On those days, you must remember that action creates emotion. Waiting to feel motivated is a trap. The first step is always the hardest, but it is also the only one that matters. Start with 5 minutes. Start with one action. Start with something so small that the mind cannot reject it. Because once you begin, momentum takes over. The body moves, the mind follows, and the energy you lacked is created by the act itself. This is how consistency is forced, not by waiting for the perfect conditions, but by building conditions that leave no room for retreat. Every step forward, no matter how small, rewrites your identity. Every choice made against resistance is a declaration that you are stronger than your excuses. And each moment of persistence becomes the foundation of a future you can finally trust yourself to build. Consistency reaches its highest power when it stops being something you do and starts becoming who you are. The strongest force driving human behavior is the need to remain aligned with identity. If you see yourself as someone who follows through, your actions will reflect that belief. If you see yourself as someone who quits, your actions will reflect that too. This means the secret to lasting change is not just in the act of repeating habits, but in rewriting the story you tell yourself about who you are. Every action you take is a vote for the identity you are building. When you choose to act even when it is difficult, you cast a vote for the future version of yourself. At first, those votes feel small, almost invisible, but repeated over time, they accumulate into undeniable evidence of who you are becoming. The person who takes action in the face of resistance is no longer trying to be consistent. They are consistent by nature. This shift from effort to identity is what makes discipline unshakable. There will be days when you fall short, when you break your own promises, when the weight of life feels too heavy to carry. Those moments do not erase your progress, they test your resilience. Consistency is not perfection. It is the choice to return again and again, no matter how many times you stumble. The greatest strength is not in never falling, but in refusing to stay down. Every time you rise, you reinforce the truth that you are stronger than setbacks, tougher than excuses, and bigger than your failures. So choose to rise, choose to act, choose to honor your word until consistency is no longer something you struggle for, but something you embody. Each choice, each action, each repetition carves the path toward the unshakable version of yourself. Keep going, because the future you dream of is already waiting on the other side of your persistence.